and proportion. So we're going to spend 2 days talking about it because there's a couple different parts to it. So first thing, we need to know the difference between a ratio and a proportion. So a ratio is just going to be where you compare two numbers by division. And we usually write it as a fraction, but there are a couple other ways to write it, okay? So the easiest way is just say A over B is your ratio. Sometimes they're dealt with in units, okay? Another way to write it is to put the word to, T-O, in the middle, A to B. And then the third way is to use a colon. So you could see it like this. Generally, if I see it in one of these two ways, I just rewrite it like this as a fraction. Okay. So that's a ratio. Now, a proportion is when you have an equation. So right away, this equation implies that you're going to have what? Has part of the word what in it? Equal. So you're going to have an equal sign. So it's going to be an equation stating that you have two ratios, and those two ratios are equal. Right? So it looks more like this. It starts with this ratio, A to B, and then you're going to have your equal sign, and then you'll have C to D. So you have two ratios with an equal sign in the middle. Okay, ratio, no equal sign, just basically comparing your two numbers. Okay, proportion, two ratios with an equal sign in the middle. Right? The easiest way to solve a proportion, hopefully you learned it in Algebra 1. Does anybody know the name of the property? Cross product, right? Or cross multiplication, but cross product is the fancy name. And so you're just going to multiply diagonally. You're going to say A times D. I'm going to use a dot to imply multiplication. And then the other way, making the other part of the cross, the B times C. And that'll give you your cross product property. All right. Now, 90% of the times in a proportion, you're going to have three numbers filled in there, right? And in one spot, you're going to have a variable, usually X, but it could be some other variable, T or whatever. And then you do the cross product and you'll be able to solve for that one variable that's missing, okay? That's example number 1. All right, so this is obviously a proportion because it has an equal sign and it has two ratios. They're set equal to each other. I have three numbers filled in, the 7, the 56, and the 72, okay? And one variable, the X, right? Classic proportion, classic use of the cross product property. So we're going to multiply diagonally. Now, if you're like me and you prefer your variable on the left, then you're going to go this way first because it doesn't really matter which way you go first. So I'm going to say X times 56 is equal to 7 times 72. And then I'm going to simplify. X times 56 is 56X. 7 times 72, if you punch it in the calculator, you'll get 504. And then just one more step. What is the inverse operation of multiplying by 56? So you're going to divide both sides by 56. So calculator is obviously going to come in handy, right? Because can you do that in your head? All right, so 504 divided by 56 goes in there 9 times. All right, everybody remember the cross product property? Not too bad? Okay. They do get a little more complicated, like example number 2. So for example number 2, we're going to have z minus 4 over 5 equal to 20 over z minus 4. So what makes example number 2 harder than example number 1? Because now we have 2 variables. You see that? The z minus 4 and the z minus 4. Okay? So let's see how we're going to deal with that. We're still going to do the cross product property. So we're going to go this times this. So z minus 4 times z minus 4 equal to 5 times 20. Does anybody know what to do on the left with the z minus 4 and the z minus 4? Okay, so you would distribute, but because there's a binomial and a binomial, meaning 2 terms and 2 terms, you need to distribute more than once. You need to do what's called double distributive, okay? And we often refer to it in, think back to your algebra class, as the what, like there's an acronym. Anybody know it starts with F? F stands for first. No? Who said? Yes, FOIL. So you're going to FOIL. F stands for first, O stands for outside, I stands for inside, and L stands for last. Okay, so you have to multiply 4 times. That's double distributive. Okay, so we're going to go first. Z times Z is Z squared. O is outside. So Z times negative 4, which is negative 4Z. I is for inside, another negative 4Z. L is for last, so negative 4 times negative 4, which is positive 16, is equal to 5 times 20. That one I can do in my head is 100. Okay? So now I can combine these z's, and if I move this 100 over to this side, I can set it equal to 0, and then we're going to factor. Okay? So we've got z squared minus 8z, because I combine these 2 right here, and then 16, we're going to subtract that 100, so it's minus, what is that, 84? Minus 84 equals 0. All right, so now we have to do the opposite of foiling, which is factoring. So I'm going to draw 2 sets of parentheses. That's always the best way to start, because I'm going to need to say, okay, what is going to multiply to get z squared? That would be z and z. And then if you look at the signs, if you have a negative and a negative, that means one of them is going to be positive and one of them is going to be negative. And what 2 numbers will multiply to get 84 or negative 84 and add or subtract to get negative 8? Anybody see that one? No? So you might have to play around with your calculator on that one a little bit, but you should have z plus 6 and z minus 14. So these are what we call your factors. And then to get the solutions, you say, what 2 numbers plug in here and here to make them 0? So what number could I plug in here to make this parentheses 0? Negative 6. And what number would plug in here? Positive 14. So these are called your solutions. So you've got factors right there and solutions. Z equals negative 6 and z equals 14. Okay? Finish copying that down. And then you guys